الآن معالي الدكتور بندر حجار رئيس مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية لإلقاء الكلمة الافتتاحية لهذا المنتدى، فليتفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أصحاب المعالي، أصحاب السعادة، الضيوف الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي ابتداء أن أعبر عن خالص الشكر وعميق الاحترام للشعب المغربي والحكومة المغربية على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة، وعلى الدعم المميز الذي قدموه في تنظيم هذا المنتدى. وإنه لشرف عظيم لي أن أكون هنا بالنيابة عن مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية الذي يضم نخبة من الكفاءات والعقول النيرة. ويسرني أن أشيد بجهود زملائي في المعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب في التوجه الجديد للمعهد نحو تطوير الاقتصادات الذكية من أجل التنمية المستدامة، والتي تمثل محور في هذا المنتدى. حضور الكرام، إن إحدى القضايا الحاسمة التي تواجه الاقتصاد العالمي هو غياب القوة الدافعة للنمو، ويتفق الخبراء على أن الابتكار هو المحرك الرئيس الذي يقود النمو على المديين المتوسط والطويل. وبخلاف الثورات الصناعية السابقة، فإن الثورة الصناعية الرابعة تفتح آفاقاً جديدة لمعالجة بعض أكثر القضايا الاقتصادية والاجتماعية إلحاحاً في مجالات كالصحة والتعليم والطاقة والبيئة والتمويل وغيرها. إن تحقيق التنمية الاجتماعية والاقتصادية المستدامة بطريقة متوازنة ليس مجرد قضية تمويل، بل إنه مسعى أوسع يتطلب مسارات أكثر تعقيداً. إنه يتطلب التزاماً كاملاً بتطوير نموذج عمل مؤسساتنا للتأقلم مع المتغيرات السريعة حولنا واستثمار الفرص الكبيرة التي تتيحها لنا. إن هذه المبادرة تتطلب تبني نموذج الاقتصاد التعاوني والمشاركة في الموارد، بحيث يشمل ذلك جميع أصحاب المصلحة في نظام متكامل يشمل الحكومات والقطاع الخاص والمؤسسات الأكاديمية والاجتماعية، ويوفر منصة تمكن جميع الفاعلين من أن يبرزوا نقاط قوتهم الخاصة بما يكمل بعضهم البعض. وبالرغم من أن التطورات التقنية غالباً ما تكون مرتبطة بالقطاع الخاص، فإن للقطاع العام كذلك دوراً مهماً في تعزيز وترشيد الابتكار الفني والتقني. وبالتالي فمن الضروري إعادة النظر في كيفية قيام المؤسسات الوطنية المعنية بالابتكار، وبالتأكيد أن تكون التقنيات والابتكارات الجديدة مفيدة ومجدية. السيدات والسادة، إن العالم يتغير، فما الذي يمكننا فعله اليوم ليكون الغد أكثر إشراقاً؟ لا يمكننا التنبؤ بالصناعات التي ستسود في المستقبل، ولكن يمكننا استكشاف الأنماط التي تتشكل اليوم، وأن نستعد من خلال بناء مؤسساتنا على أسس راسخة من المرونة والابتكار. إنني أهيب بالدول الأعضاء في ظل ما تشهده من الاقتصاد المعولم لتعزيز التنمية المدعومة بالابتكار وتكثيف التعاون في المجالات الرائدة من قبيل الاقتصاد الذكي والرقمي وتكنولوجيا النانو والحوسبة الكمية والذكاء الاصطناعي وتطوير البيانات الضخمة والمدن الذكية، بحيث تصبح جميعها محركاً للنمو الاقتصادي. إن نموذج العمل الجديد الذي اعتمده البنك في إطار برنامج الرئيس الخماسي تلعب فيه العلوم والتكنولوجيا والابتكار دوراً محورياً في تعزيز التنمية الاقتصادية والاجتماعية. وقد انخرط البنك بقوة في استثمارات جادة لتعزيز العلوم والتكنولوجيا والابتكار، مدفوعاً بالتزامه بدعم الاستثمار في رأس المال البشري. ونتطلع في استراتيجيتنا الجديدة إلى دمج العلوم والتكنولوجيا والابتكار في جميع برامج البنك ومشاريعه وأعماله. السيدات والسادة، اسمحوا لي في ختام كلمتي هذه أن أغتنم الفرصة لأعرب لكم مرة أخرى عن خالص أمنياتي وتقديري لجميع المشاركين والمنظمين الذين ساهموا في إنجاح هذا المؤتمر، وأتمنى لهذا المؤتمر وللنقاشات كل النجاح والتوفيق. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا جزيلا معالي الرئيس على هذه الكلمة القيمة والتي بيّنت التوجهات الجديدة للبنك الإسلامي للتنمية عموما والمعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب في ظل الثورة الصناعية الرابعة. Je voudrais maintenant passer la parole à Monsieur Ahmed Osman, gouverneur de la Banque centrale de Djibouti, pour délivrer son speech.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, I apologize, I am not very enough civilian in English, so I will do my speech in French. So I know also that the translation is available. So please take your micro or the translation cask. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les experts, avant de dire quelques mots, je voudrais d'abord remercier les organisateurs et le gouvernement marocain, les autorités et les participants et les organisateurs de cette conférence qui nous ont accueillis de manière incroyable depuis hier, et vraiment leur remercier de cette hospitalité, de cet accueil chaleureux qui nous met dans de bonnes conditions de travail pendant 3 jours. C'est pour moi un immense privilège et un réel plaisir d'assister et de prendre la parole devant vous au 14e Forum global sur la finance islamique, organisé en marge des assemblées annuelles du groupe de la Banque islamique de développement. Notre participation à l'événement qui nous réunit aujourd'hui nous honore et nous enthousiaste, en effet, à plus d'un titre, car en plus de nous permettre d'apprendre, d'échanger avec vous, éminents experts et personnalités, sur les thématiques actuelles de l'influence islamique et les enjeux de développement économique qui sont pour nous des sujets d'intérêt majeur. Cet événement marque également le lancement officiel du rapport pays sur la finance islamique en République de Djibouti, réalisé par l'Institut islamique de recherche et de formation du groupe de la Banque islamique de développement. La publication de ce rapport, qui présente un brillant aperçu de l'évolution de la finance islamique à Djibouti, ses perspectives et challenges à court terme et à moyen horizon, nous donne un véritable éclairage extérieur avec les reculs suffisants sur le chemin parcouru et les efforts devant être fournis pour promouvoir davantage la finance islamique dans notre pays. En outre, le lancement officiel du rapport dans le cadre d'un événement international aussi prestigieux que celui qui nous réunit aujourd'hui nous offre une réelle plateforme de communication et une visibilité accrue sur les avancées de la finance islamique dans notre région, ainsi que les formidables opportunités de cette industrie en terre africaine. Aussi, j'aimerais saisir l'opportunité qui m'est offerte pour adresser, au nom du gouvernement de la République de Djibouti, nos plus vifs remerciements à l'endroit du groupe de la Banque islamique de développement pour son soutien permanent à nos projets de développement et plus particulièrement dans les domaines de la finance islamique, au nom de la communauté financière djiboutienne que j'ai l'honneur de représenter ici en tant que gouverneur de la Banque centrale. La République de Djibouti, mesdames et messieurs, est un petit pays, peuplé, moins d'1 million d'habitants, avec des ressources naturelles très limitées, mais idéalement placé sur l'une des routes maritimes les plus fréquentées, au confluent des 3 continents. Dans cette situation, nous avons fait le pari de faire de Djibouti un hub stratégique, commercial et financier. Cette ambition, nous l'avons traduite dans notre programme de développement. Et pour y parvenir, nous avons initié d'importants investissements pour nous doter des infrastructures de transport, de communication les plus modernes et les plus compétitifs afin que cette position stratégique devienne une source optimale et pérenne de croissance, d'emploi et de richesse. En parallèle, nous avons engagé d'importantes réformes en vue de bâtir un système financier efficace, robuste et sain, qui est la deuxième composante essentielle de notre stratégie de développement. Les réformes entreprises ont permis de transformer en profondeur notre secteur financier, qui s'est vu densifier en nombre d'opérateurs et diversifié en termes d'activités et de produits financiers au cours de cette dernière décennie. Dans le même temps, les efforts engagés sur le plan économique ont permis de consolider et d'intensifier la croissance qui se situe en moyenne à 6,5%, avec une inflation structurellement basse et en général inférieure à 3%. C'est dans cet environnement foisonnant qu'est née la finance islamique, qui demeure relativement jeune à Djibouti, où le premier établissement bancaire à caractère islamique ne s'est établi qu'en 2006, après une première tentative des années 90, alors que les banques classiques sont présentes sur notre territoire depuis 1908. L'arrivée des institutions financières islamiques dans le paysage bancaire a permis d'accroître la concurrence dans les marchés et de diversifier l'offre de produits et de services bancaires. Avec une part de marché sans cesse grandissante et des produits novateurs, les banques islamiques ont su attirer une clientèle plus large et améliorer les indicateurs de l'inclusion financière. Actuellement, au nombre de 3 sur 11 en activité, les banques islamiques représentent aujourd'hui 23% de l'actif total bancaire, contre seulement 1% en 2006. Les dépôts collectés par les banques, en progression annuelle de 20%, représentent déjà actuellement 17% de l'ensemble des dépôts du système bancaire, tandis que les volumes de crédits octroyés par ces banques se situent aux environs de 17% du total des engagements bancaires. Dans le même temps, les banques islamiques participent activement à l'amélioration de l'offre de services bancaires, détenant à elles seules 31% du nombre des agences bancaires, 33% du nombre de comptes bancaires, 39% des distributeurs de billets automatiques, etc. Enfin, en termes de gestion des risques, la qualité du portefeuille d'investissement détenu par les banques islamiques est globalement saine, avec un taux de croissance douteuse limité à 3%, soit un niveau largement en dessous du taux moyen du secteur bancaire conventionnel. Ces résultats et les perspectives aiguisent l'appétit des banques conventionnelles, dont certaines projettent déjà l'ouverture de guichets islamiques en leur sein. Mesdames et messieurs, ces solides performances ne sont pas les fruits du hasard, mais elles sont rendues possibles grâce au train de réformes menées en continu pour aménager un environnement et un cadre réglementaire propice au développement des activités bancaires islamiques dans notre pays. Ainsi, avec le soutien de nos partenaires au développement, notamment les groupes de la Banque islamique de développement, nous nous sommes progressivement dotés du cadre juridique nécessaire en phase avec les standards internationaux et les normes de l'IFSP en particulier, complétées récemment par la mise sur pied du Comité national de charia pour encadrer les activités bancaires islamiques. Les efforts sont d'autre part orientés dans le renforcement permanent des capacités de la supervision de la Banque centrale et des besoins en formation des salariés des banques islamiques. Cependant, et comme le rapport de l'IRTI en fait si bien l'analyse, force est de constater que beaucoup de chemin reste encore à parcourir en début des progrès notoires accomplis par Djibouti en matière de finances islamiques. Il s'agit pour l'essentiel de relever les faiblesses suivantes. Un faible niveau de bancarisation des adultes ne dépassant pas les 25%, la faible diversification de l'offre de produits financiers islamiques et au niveau de pénétration géographique du marché, l'insuffisante communication pour sensibiliser la population sur les produits et services financiers islamiques, malgré la tenue d'un sommet annuel de la finance islamique à Djibouti depuis 2012. Le faible degré de standardisation des pratiques de la finance islamique naît des divergences des courants de pensée islamiques. L'absence d'opérateurs en assurance islamique, malgré l'existence d'un cadre réglementaire spécifique. L'insuffisance de ressources humaines qualifiées dans le domaine de la finance islamique. Bien que l'ancrage de la finance islamique dans le paysage financier de Djibouti soit désormais acquis, tant auprès de la clientèle professionnelle que des particuliers, il n'en demeure pas moins qu'il nous faut agir impérativement sur l'ensemble des faiblesses répertoriées pour donner à la finance islamique sa véritable dimension et la place qui est la sienne dans notre pays majoritairement musulman comme le vôtre. Oui, nous avons de solides atouts et un formidable potentiel dans la finance islamique, comme d'ailleurs partout en Afrique. L'Afrique demeure sans conteste le continent qui offre les perspectives les plus prometteuses en termes économiques et d'investissement. Aussi, à Djibouti, terre d'islam et carrefour commercial entre l'Afrique et l'Asie, se pose tout naturellement comme la place indiquée pour l'épanouissement de la finance islamique en Afrique. Dans cette perspective, j'exhorte l'ensemble de nos partenaires historiques, et notamment les groupes de la Banque islamique de développement, à nous emboîter le pas et nous accompagner dans nos efforts incessants pour développer durablement la finance islamique. Je vous remercie de votre attention et vous souhaite des fructueux débats. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Gouverneur. الكلمة الآن لسعادة الدكتور سامي سويلم مدير عام المعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. نرحب مرة أخرى بجميع الضيوف وأصحاب المعالي وأصحاب السعادة، ونشكر لجميع المشاركين، سعادة رئيس البنك ولسعادة محافظ البنك المركزي في جيبوتي. وهذه المناسبة هي بمناسبة إطلاق التقرير عن دولة جيبوتي في ضمن سلسلة تقارير يصدرها المعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب عن الدول الأعضاء. ويسرني أن أستعرض معكم خلال بضع دقائق سريعة أهم نتائج ومعطيات هذا التقرير، ثم بعد ذلك ننتقل لمبادرتين قام المعهد بإطلاقهما مع بداية هذا العام 2019، مبادرة قادة معرفة المستقبل Future Knowledge Leaders، ومبادرة Smart Economy أو الاقتصاد الذكي للدول الأعضاء، والتي ستمثل محور، أو هذين المبادرتين سيكونان هما محور نقاشنا اليوم إن شاء الله. الآن سأستعرض سريعا التقرير الذي أصدره المعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب Islamic Finance Country Report for Djibouti. I'm sorry, I'm switching from Arabic to English, but no French, please forgive me. Our team in IRTI was able to conduct this thorough study of Djibouti, particularly the Islamic finance sector. Djibouti is a small country, but is an ambitious country with a very promising future and resources. As the governor, His Excellency the Governor just mentioned, population less than a million, but it has consistently managed to grow at on average 6.7% per year. Low inflation rate, rapid growth of Islamic banking assets, and non-performing loans of Islamic banks is about 3%. This is a comparison between Djibouti and the surrounding countries, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan. As you can see, Ethiopia is number 1, Djibouti is number 2, consistently throughout 2014 and 2018. Inflation is very stable. The sectoral growth of GDP, you can see it's mostly services, construction of infrastructure, wholesale, trade, retail, restaurants. It's mainly a services economy and growing sustainably. Comparing the ease of doing business across the 4 or the 5 countries, Djibouti is comes on the top relative to the other countries in the region. As you can see, this is an index developed by the World Bank on various aspects of ease of doing business in various countries. Looking at Islamic banks versus conventional banks in Djibouti, we realize that they are quite close when it comes to return on assets and return on equity. But when it comes to non-performing loans, Islamic banks are at 3%, while conventional banks at 20%. So while the return is very close to the conventional banks, the risk under the non-performing loans risk is much, much lower for Islamic banks in Djibouti. The sectors finance 40% household and 60% mostly corporate. Islamic Bank financing by 2017 in million of Djiboutis franc. As you can see, it covers various aspects of the economy, mining, manufacturing, but the bulk goes to building and public works as well as trade. So Djibouti is basically positioned as a trade and service economy. In 2014, the country established Diwan al-Zakah Foundation to mobilize and distribute zakah. It's under the direct leadership of the President of Djibouti, and it has been supported by a network of volunteers and committees. As you can see, the brown line is the zakah collected in thousands of US$, while the blue line is the number of donors or muzakin. The collected zakah is consistently growing, which indicates the growth of the economy, which is very important to have a stable non-profit sector as a safety net network or safety net of the economy. IDB operations cumulative about 249 million in over the years. There are many opportunities for the Djibouti economy, mostly trade and foreign investment, economic diversification. It's strategically located in a very important area that could be a hub, a trade hub for the rest of the economy. So going forward, there is a good opportunity to develop human capital, to develop Islamic finance in general, Islamic banking, takaful, and development financial institutions, and to improve Sharia governance, capitalize on strategic location, to provide trade and Islamic finance trade services, and to develop and promote halal industry in the region. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Rami Abdel Kafi, to present the first initiative of the Islamic Research and Training Institute, the Future Knowledge Leaders Initiative. Dr. Rami.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sami. So before starting my presentation, please allow me to invite my speakers that will discuss the initiative. So Dr. Khalid Al-Ghanim, he is founder and chairman of Hawaz, Saudi Arabia. Mr. Ignacio de la Torre from IE Business School, Spain. Dr. Salma Abbasi, chairperson and CEO of E-Worldwide Group. And Sinuddin Manna, directeur de l'école Hassaniya des travaux publics. So for the presentation, as mentioned by Dr. Sami, so this is a new initiative that will be launched by the Islamic Research and Training Institute. It is about the development of future knowledge leaders. The outline of my presentation will be as follows. So I will start by giving the rationale for this initiative, the definition of the knowledge leaders, the objectives of the initiative, the components and the modules, and the target audience and the partners that we are expecting to have for the development of this initiative. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges that we are expecting to have, the resources, and we'll talk a little bit about our action plan. Why this initiative? In fact, based on the experience of the Islamic Research and Training Institute as an institute for giving capacity building and research in the domain of Islamic finance, we want to develop the innovation or the create knowledge to create viable products and services and to create new leaders. This will demand more vision and more visibility. So learning is not only about creating knowledge, but how to demonstrate the impact from this knowledge. Of course, we want to be in line with the new IDB business perspective, which is based on empowering people for sustainable development, and we want to help our member countries to find solutions for economic development. What's the definition of a knowledge leader? Who is knowledge leader? One of the definitions is knowledge leader is someone who creates a system that integrates or that gives interaction between people, skills, and the process of creating a knowledge repository. Also, a knowledge leader is someone who enables others in obtaining the capacity to act and to deliver with profound knowledge. In broad sense, we need knowledge leader to give opportunity and the capacity to act, not only having the knowledge, but the capacity for people to act and to create or to find solution for development. The objectives of our initiatives is to develop a wide range of research and capacity building and information activities that will help our member countries and to engage groups or entities and development institutions in developing enablers and facilitators at all levels of the society in our member countries. It is also about innovating and having a value added to create solutions in our member countries. We want also to integrate leadership concept in the knowledge-based solutions for the development issues of our member countries. Finally, our final objective is to raise the next generation of entrepreneurs, trainers, and capacity builders. This is, of course, in line with the new orientation of the IDB group, which is moving from a financing institution to a bank of developers. This is the new orientation of the IDB, which has been mentioned by His Excellency, the President of the IDB group. We are thinking to have 4 modules for our initiatives. The first one will focus on leadership, the second one on entrepreneurship, the third one on communication skills, communication and networking skills, and the last one, of course, it will focus on Islamic economics and finance. These components would be discussed with our speakers and other features of the initiative, inshallah. Our target audience, it will be trainers, solution finders, and advisors, the key persons in the society or the holders of the leading positions in our member countries, the senior business entrepreneurs, the consultancy services providers, the development practitioners. This is something which is innovative in our approach because in the past we have not developed many interaction with the development institutions and development practitioners in our member countries. This is one of our main focus in the future, inshallah. The potential partners in our member countries and in the world, the research institutions, the multilateral and national development institutions, the capacity development institutions and the centers of excellence, the strategic planning and leadership academics, and of course, internally, we want to develop more synergy between us, the Islamic Research and Training Institution, Institute and the ISDB Group entities. Of course, we are aware of many challenges that we will face in developing this initiative. The first one, which is very important, is the rapid change that we are witnessing in the recent years. So we have to be always up to date, and we have to take care of the changes taking place in the world. There is a complex relationship also between economics, technology, and behaviors. So this is what we call the social capital. And we need this development of future knowledge leaders in order to manage this complex relationship in the social capital, especially in our member countries. The resources that we are expecting to have, it will be based on the ISDB contribution, of course, sponsorships from corporate sector, and we have already started negotiating with some potential sponsors, and we have very good feedback from these sponsors and very big interest on this new initiative. The organizational and logistic facilities from collaborating entities, especially in our member countries, and of course, sometimes we will have fee-based courses and fee-based trainings that will be paid by the beneficiaries of this initiative. Our action plan, we have already started the concept and the framework, and this is part of our the preparation of our concept, this panel. The phase 2 will be partnership agreements with collaborating institutions, and we have started negotiation with many partners. The phase 2 will be pilot implementation in a group of selected member countries. We have started negotiating with Tunisia, and the negotiation is very much advanced, and with Morocco also. And the last phase will be the assessment and large-scale launching of the initiative. It will take place, inshallah, in the first quarter of 2020. Thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation, and now I will try to discuss this with my speakers. Let me start with Dr. Khaled Al-Ghanim. So, Dr. Khaled, based on your experience, long experience in the domain, could you please tell us more about the experience of Hawaz in terms of developing these solutions and the capacity building in this area?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm honored to be here among this selected group of speakers, and I'd like to thank IRTI and the Islamic Development Bank for inviting me to this event. For the experience of Hawaz and my own personal experience, I'd like probably to talk about previous experience in my previous company, which is ILM. ILM is a government-owned company. As the president of the Islamic Development Bank said in his word, the role of PPP, public-private partnership, is very crucial. We started ILM in 2002 to be the bridge between the public and the private sector. ILM is a government-owned company. It was owned by the Ministry of Interior in Saudi Arabia, and then it was owned by the Public Investment Fund. And when we started in 2002, luckily, oil prices were at a very low point, so the government didn't have budget to implement many of their solutions. So they actually gave ILM a license to go and find problems the private sector was willing to pay for, and the government will allow ILM to develop the service and sell it to the private sector. Very simple and innovative services. The one I am proud of, I always remember, is actually a very simple one. There was lots of fraud in the used car maker. So one of our employees said, why don't we provide an SMS service to those who want to buy a new car? They go, the owner would show his ID, and the potential buyer would send an SMS with the ID of the owner and the license plate of the car, so that we preserve privacy of the information. And if the two information match, we will send him back from the traffic department database, information about the car model, the car year, how many previous owners have owned on this car. And this SMS was $1 a piece that we shared with the telco providers. This was the first of e-government services we developed. That we then moved to automating the passport department services. 10 years ago, if you are in Saudi Arabia, and I guess most of the world, if your passport is about to expire, you take 1 day off from work to go to the passport department, queue early in the morning, get a number, wait a few hours, and probably get turned down because you missed to bring one document. And then you have to come another day. Last week, I renewed my passport, actually. I did it in the middle of the night online. And because, actually, there is a requirement to hand over the previous passport to the passport department, I had to go to a post office where I gave them my old passport. I dropped my old passport in the post office, and 2 days later, I received my new and old passport in the mail. This service is possible because the government actually enabled a semi-government organization or private sector to innovate and lead in order to improve efficiencies. Ilm was, we started in Ilm in 2002, I left in 2012. We were 90% Saudis, which, if you know Saudi Arabia, it is unheard of. Most of businesses in Saudi Arabia, because of lack of talent, have many expats going to 50–60% range. But in Ilm, we focused on capacity building from day one, and also luckily because we didn't have enough money to rely on external vendors and external consultants, we had to hire local people and train them, develop them, and right now, still Ilm has about 80–85% Saudi talent.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Khaled. It's very interesting indeed. Let me go to Mr. Ignacio de la Torre from IE Business School. We know that IE Business School has a long experience in this domain. Could you please give us more details about what IE Business School is doing for developing talents and for creating knowledge leaders?
Okay, thank you. Pleasure to be here. I'll go back to history. You know, when the first tractor appeared in 1904, more than 60% of people were working in agriculture. So people got scared to death. They said, if there is this robot coming into agriculture, there won't be any jobs going forward. No? And you discover that today the unemployment rate is 3.8. And if you think what has happened, despite a robot taking the jobs of Americans working in agriculture, today only 2% of them work in agriculture. At the end, you see that all the technological revolutions imply an educational revolution. Now, when you apply this concept to today, the world of business schools, and you think that today you should be competing for a job with a robot, in a sense, no? Robots use artificial intelligence, which in essence is having plenty of data and algorithms to treat this data. And probably going forward, we need to collaborate with robots in the job markets. So what I think is that in business education and business schools, you could use like a push model or a pull model. A push model is let's think what I think is going to be relevant for you. Let's design a program and let's see how you do afterwards in the job market. Okay, this is the traditional way. What we have been doing is thinking the other way, which is a pull model, which is basically understanding very well through talent what employers need, what kind of people they need, and what kind of competences they need. Once you understand this, the next step is you define an admission process that just selects people who are features or is able to enter into this kind of requirements. In the case of the programs I manage, the Masters in Finance, for instance, we need people with very high GMAT scores, especially in quantitative. And the third step is to make an academic design just answering to the demands of the job market. So in this case, for instance, we have made mandatory to program in Python. So all the finance graduates know how to program before they finish. And this, in my opinion, will be a critical issue to succeed in getting a good job. And after you do all this, then you need to monitor your talent through careers. But I think that this next technological revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, necessarily will comprise an educational revolution in the sense of lifelong learning. So your education will not stop once you have finished your MBA, your Master in Finance. You need to be equipped with tools to be able to reassess and retrain your competencies going forward. This is the best way, in my opinion, to face the new era of living with robots.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think I will keep the very tough question to Dr. Salma, but before that, I will go to Dr. Nourdine to see the experience of Morocco. Nourdine, en tant qu'institution
as an academic institution.
Excuse me, I will switch to France to allow Dr. Nourdine to respond to our question. En tant qu'institution académique, est-ce que vous prenez en considération ces aspects de leadership et d'entrepreneurship dans votre curriculum, dans le développement de vos programmes? Est-ce que vous pouvez nous donner quelques éclaircissements sur ça, s'il vous plaît?
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis honoré d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je suis en tant que directeur d'école de formation d'ingénieurs et effectivement par rapport à tout ce qui est leadership et entrepreneuriat et dans la continuité de ce qu'a dit M. Inacio, au niveau de la quatrième révolution, moi que je considère qu'on dépasse la quatrième révolution parce que déjà au niveau de l'école, on est en train de faire beaucoup de stratégies et on n'arrive pas à suivre l'évolution. C'est pour vous montrer cette évolution vraiment très rapide et très croissante. Maintenant, il y a les universités qui sont en train de changer leur mode de formation. Il y a des alliances entre les écoles d'ingénieurs et les écoles de commerce. Et donc, il y a une interconnexion maintenant entre tout ce qui est formation technique. On est des formateurs de génie civil, informatique, électricité, mais aussi on commence à former aussi tout ce qui est commerce, tout ce qui est finance islamique, tout ce qui est management, tout ce qui est gestion de projet. Donc, on est obligé actuellement de faire des alliances avec des écoles de commerce pour pouvoir sortir demain la génération d'aujourd'hui, pour suivre tout ce qui est révolution numérique, tout ce qui est intelligence artificielle, les machine learning, maintenant la formation immersive. Les étudiants actuellement au niveau des établissements, ils demandent beaucoup plus par rapport au savoir, de la connaissance. Ça veut dire qu'ils sont en train, ils dépassent plus ou moins les universités et les besoins. Et donc, ce n'est plus un besoin d'insérer tout ce qui est esprit d'entreprise et entrepreneuriat et aussi l'innovation. Tout à l'heure, monsieur le directeur de la banque, on a parlé beaucoup de ce qui est innovation. Il est devenu indispensable dans toutes les écoles de formation, que ce soit des écoles d'ingénieurs ou bien des universités, d'inclure dans le cursus de formation le long de la première année à l'entrée de l'école ou bien la première année au niveau du master, au niveau des universités, que ce soit finance, que ce soit management, que ce soit communication, pour préparer les générations, je ne dirais pas du futur, mais générations qui peuvent accompagner cette mutation perpétuelle d'aujourd'hui. Et aussi, il faut que ces universités ou ces écoles doivent, comme l'a dit aussi, il faut qu'on puisse accompagner ces diplômés, ces lauréats, le long de toute leur vie dans la formation, parce que les connaissances n'arrêtent pas de changer, leur apprendre à apprendre, leur apprendre à s'adapter à ces mutations, leur apprendre à initier, à être visionnaire. Et ça est vraiment, et ça, les universités et les modes pédagogiques et les modes de formation les universités, ils n'ont pas pu actuellement, sur le mode de changement, de se transformer pour accompagner ce changement qui est vraiment très rapide. Et je vous le dis, au niveau de l'école, on a fait une stratégie il y a 2 ans. On est en train de reprendre notre stratégie pour pouvoir s'adapter. Et on n'arrive pas vraiment à suivre. C'est pourquoi il y a cette obligation de s'allier avec des écoles de commerce, des écoles de management, et de s'allier aussi avec l'entreprise. Surtout, l'entreprise, il doit s'approcher des universités, des écoles, et aussi les écoles doivent s'approcher pour former les leaders et les innovateurs, les entrepreneurs d'aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup, Nourdine. Let me go to Dr. Salma Abbasi. We have seen the experience of Saudi Arabia, the experience of Morocco. So my question is, do you think from your experience that the issue of leadership, entrepreneurship is a generic issue for everyone, for every country, or is it specific to developing countries?
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Let me begin by thanking you so much, Islamic Development Bank, for inviting me to participate on this very important panel. I actually believe that entrepreneurship is a challenge for everybody. However, over the last 20 years, we've been working with various governments, so we do see a trend. I don't want to say that this is a special challenge for the MENA region. However, I think some of the cultural issues that we have to deal with and the encouragement in our education system, which both of my colleagues have mentioned, need to be taken into consideration and reflection to be able to understand that we have high expectations from entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs really are risk takers. So what we have to look at is, do we have the environment that allows people to take the risk and, more importantly, allows people to fail? I know that I'm also working in Dubai, I'm working in Nigeria, in an accelerator and an information hub, if you will. And I compare the environment in Dubai's Hive. I'm sure Spain is, I'm working with the entrepreneurs in Spain as well through GSMA. And I see that the culture has a huge factor that encourages or discourages young people. Our parents, not my parents, the young people, I'm looking for young people here. The young people are the future. So what we need to do is create the space to allow them to take the risk and equip them. Capacity building for entrepreneurship is standard textbook. You can see it from anywhere on the internet. But it's the other things that we need to do when they're very young. I'm a great believer that the whole curriculum of schools, which I believe my colleague also mentioned, if we in Djibouti want to take advantage of the global platform and be trade, we need to teach a common language that we can all speak. And that today has become the digital internet. It is the language through the internet. Obviously, a lot of the content is in English, but more and more local content is being developed. With that, we have to be able to open our minds to recognize that at the early age, we need to encourage boys and girls equally. What I fail to see in many of our member countries is the projection of a woman. I'm a woman, and alhamdulillah, in 1980, I graduated with my civil engineering degree. You can't imagine what my uncles and aunts were saying to my mother and father. Why are you educating a girl in engineering? Who is going to marry her? This was the first thing in 1980. Then I did my master's in electrical engineering. And about 5 years ago, I did my PhD in ICTs for development in Muslim countries to look at the policies and really understand how can we implement. So when I talk about entrepreneurship, I feel I'm speaking, being grounded from Silicon Valley for 28 years designing chips in an environment that truly nurtures innovation, creativity, and rewards risk takers. We need to change the way, alhamdulillah, plenty of money is available. But this mindset, the paradigm shift for us to have an opportunity for young people to fail. This is very important, and I'm happy to see so many young ladies over there that have come in together. And to create the space for women, we think very differently. If we come up with innovative ideas, it can be localized to what we need, what we see. So every single community, whether it's urban and rural, are entrepreneurs and can be entrepreneurs. One of the other things I feel is a failing. I'm a continuous student. I'm now looking at a second PhD in cybersecurity because I keep learning. And alhamdulillah, the more I learn, the more I know I don't know. But what I do realize is that we have a responsibility to be able to showcase role models from within our own context so that the young people don't keep looking at Bill Gates. They can look within us. We have young people that have done amazing things. One of the things I would recommend is that we pull out and showcase what have women done in technology across the whole OIC member countries or the Islamic Development Bank member countries. And we look to change the curriculum so that it allows creativity to be a topic. It allows coding to be a topic. Because the future, as I think my colleague said, both of them have said artificial intelligence. I'm saying critical thinking. We have an information overload. We have Donald Trump, a president of a country, tweeting fake news, and nobody can do anything to stop it. So that means we, our populations, needs to have the ability to understand and analyze right from wrong and incorrect from misinformation. These need to be taught as a mandatory curriculum so that when we have our next generation moving up into becoming entrepreneurs, they can do critical thinking. They can understand coding. They can understand cyberspace. They can understand satellite technology. This is not for technologists. This is for everybody, whether they're going to be a farmer, a doctor, or a pharmacist, or a businesswoman. It doesn't matter, because technology is now becoming a part of our life in every single sector. Then we have to make sure that when we look at entrepreneurs, they are not just technopreneurs. Even though I'm a technology-biased person, innovation and entrepreneurs can come from anything, any sector. So I believe I've got a lot more to say later, but I think this is enough. I do believe we have a shortcoming, but I think if we look to the globe, we can see the trend. The further west you go, the more entrepreneurs. From America to Europe. Europe is struggling and boosting entrepreneurs, and Spain would know. Germany had a lot of hubs. They are also suffering, because what's the future? How do we guarantee the future? And alhamdulillah, sitting nestled inside the Islamic Development Bank and hearing yesterday the focus, the money is there. SDGs are there, which means the opportunities are vast. We just need to create that nurturing environment that equips the people with the self-confidence to actually become entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Salma. Very, very interesting. Based on that, je voudrais revenir à l'expérience marocaine, s'il vous plaît, Dr. Noureddine, en nous basant sur cette discussion, sur le discours très optimiste de Dr. Salma. Selon vous, on sait très bien que le Maroc a fait beaucoup de progrès, mais selon vous, pour les jeunes Marocains, quels sont les principaux obstacles pour le développement de l'entrepreneurship, du leadership, etc. Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui bloque le développement de l'entrepreneurship au Maroc? Ou bien est-ce qu'il y a des progrès que vous voudriez signaler pour l'expérience d'autres pays?
Pour rejoindre ma collègue, effectivement, pour encourager l'entrepreneuriat, il y a deux choses. Il y a la première chose, il y a tout ce qui est formation, et la deuxième chose, tout ce qui est environnement d'entrepreneuriat au niveau du pays. Donc tout ce qui est formation, donc les obstacles, c'est par rapport à la mutation et à la transformation des universités et des écoles d'ingénieurs pour inclure dans le cursus d'une manière automatique tout ce qui est esprit d'entrepreneuriat par les méthodes de formation, que ce soit les stages, que ce soit les projets de recherche avec les entreprises, avec les industriels, pour amener les jeunes à apprendre à avoir cet esprit d'entrepreneuriat et de leadership, et aussi d'innovation, et aussi de création au niveau de ces écoles, des incubateurs. Ça, c'est pour disons pour les gens, pour les techniciens, comme a dit ma collègue, ou bien les futurs ingénieurs, pour qu'ils puissent directement, sans passer à leur formation quand ils sont encore jeunes, à la sortie, ils puissent déjà, ou bien même au niveau de l'école, au niveau de l'université, qu'ils puissent entreprendre et créer des entreprises à la sortie, et directement, ils sont dans le marché. Sinon aussi, il faut, comme tout à l'heure, on l'a dit, il faut créer de la formation continue, que ce soit à travers des MBA, pour ramener les jeunes qui sont déjà formés, pour qu'ils puissent suivre des formations continues dans le cadre des MBA, ou bien des certificats en finance, ou bien des masters en finance, aussi pour les aider sur le plan aussi réglementaire, parce que aussi pour la création d'entreprises dans un pays, il faut que le diplômé, il faut lui assurer cet environnement et cette flexibilité de création. Et au Maroc, actuellement, avec la nouvelle loi des centres d'investissement régionaux qui encouragent tous les jeunes dans le cadre de projets d'investissement, et aussi l'agence Maroc PME et tout ce qu'on appelle aussi actuellement au Maroc l'auto-entrepreneur, pour les jeunes qui n'ont pas une grande formation, mais cette agence a actuellement une stratégie de 2004, la première c'était en 2014-2018, et c'est des résultats très probants. D'ailleurs, le rapport il vient de sortir, et il y a à peu près 100 000 créations d'auto-entrepreneurs avec beaucoup de marchés pour le marché du travail dans tous les domaines, du textile, des services, de l'ingénierie. Et actuellement, il y a aussi une stratégie très ambitieuse basée sur des leviers surtout liés à l'innovation et à l'accompagnement pour la création d'auto-entrepreneurs. Donc deux choses. Au niveau de la formation, il faut que les universités se transforment pour accompagner, parce qu'on est obligé de le faire. C'est une nécessité, sinon les universités, dans le cadre de la concurrence, dans le cadre de la mondialisation, dans le cadre de la concurrence même au Maroc, il y a l'installation de beaucoup d'écoles de formation. Sinon on est obligé d'accompagner cette révolution, sinon on risque de disparaître en tant qu'établissement de formation au niveau du Maroc. La deuxième chose, c'est au niveau de la création d'incubateurs en relation avec les entreprises. Et ça, c'est difficile sur le plan réglementation. Donc ça, c'est une piste d'amélioration au niveau du Maroc pour encourager l'entrepreneuriat. Et bien sûr, l'environnement d'entrepreneuriat, pour que le pays soit attractif, pour que ce risque pris par les jeunes, pour qu'ils considèrent qu'il y a une stabilité sur le plan économique, et il y a des assurances par rapport à leur risque au niveau du pays. Et ça, c'est très important. Et ça, il y a un manque énorme, surtout avec tout ce qui est informel. Tout ce qui est informel au niveau des pays comme les nôtres. Actuellement, on est à 40% avec l'informel. Et ça, c'est vraiment un blocage, c'est un obstacle pour tout ce qui est entrepreneuriat.
OK. Merci beaucoup, Dr. Nourdine. I'd like now to speak about the ERTI initiative. I'd like to address my next question to Dr. Khaled. You have seen the presentation that I have made about the ERTI initiative. According to your experience, what would be the key success factors for this initiative? Yes. What should we do to be successful in the future?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Dr. Salma touched on a couple of those important factors. Embracing failure, I think in this complex world, we cannot know all the answers up front. A philosophy of experimentation and embracing failure is very important. There is a saying that I never fail, I either succeed or learn. So implementing small experiments with the purpose not of piloting, but with the purpose of knowing more about the system is very important. I think the second criteria for the success of the initiatives is the focus and the clear definition of the role of IRTI in those initiatives. The third one is being very agile which relates to the experimentation model, is to have plans, but be very flexible in revising those plans and adapting them and changing them, and be courageous, as you are courageous in accepting failure, courageous in changing the plans if need be. Finally, I think being a role model of the change that IRT is aiming to achieve, like Dr. Salma said, is having a role model or yourself, the institute itself, being a role model for the others, and also promoting the role models that succeed in these initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In the same line, let me ask Mr. Ignacio de la Torre. In our strategy, we are planning to use new technologies, etc. So we are planning to have online courses, face-to-face courses, etc. But we would like to know from the experience from IE Business School, what will be the best model? Is it face-to-face courses or online courses in developing entrepreneurship, leadership? Is it an efficient way to do?
I think we were one of the first business schools to approach actively online learning. We started in 2005. And we lost a lot of money, by the way, because people were not ready to take online courses at that time. So we launched our first online MBA that year, and we developed a very complicated platform to ease teaching online. Okay? After that, I think the situation was a huge success. Now, the outcome is the following. You can choose either pure online teaching, face-to-face teaching. We thought that the best outcome was mixing the two. This is what we call blended. Basically how it works is that people at the end want to have a human interaction. They want to know each other. So we bring people together at the beginning of a program. Then they get the first 2 weeks face-to-face teaching, and then they go back and they begin to receive the online teaching, which normally is divided into two sides. On one hand, you have the synchronous sessions. All the students get at the same time at the computers in Tokyo, Saudi Arabia, in Canada, whatever, as well as the professor, and there is a class following a case in which people can interact through the chat or through the webcam. Okay? And then we combine this what we call the asynchronous sessions, in which the professor sets some guidelines on a case which are to be discussed during the week, different lines of debate, and students by groups, they begin to answer these lines of debate, and once a day the professor enters, like 1 hour, begins to moderate the debate. So by Wednesdays, Thursdays, you start to have the main conclusions, and then by Friday you finish. No? And then at the end of the program, they reconvene. Now, what happens with this is that the satisfaction is extremely high. I was mentioned before to a colleague that the Master in Finance, the one I direct, which is full-time, the satisfaction from 1 to 5 stands at 4.2, which is good. But if you look at the Global Master in Finance, which is using this technology, which is blended, the satisfaction is 4.4. So today, technology enables people to get even better academic results than face-to-face, which is relevant, especially if you are a person who are 30, 35, you don't want to leave your job. The opportunity cost is huge. The cost of living in another country is huge. You still can get very good training based in Bangkok or whatever. So we started doing this 15 years ago. We also created something we call the War Room. It's a room, you enter into it, I have taught into it, and you have like 60 monitors looking at you, and you see the faces of 60 people. One is in Brazil, the other one is in Spain, the other one is in Argentina, and you just teach. And you see the 60 guys who can also interact with you, but they don't need to leave their places in Argentina or whatever. This is called the War Room. We were the first school to launch it. Now Harvard has imitated us, launching another one, and I think INSEAD as well. We also were pioneers in launching the first Global Master in Finance. I think it was the first in the world. Again, using the know-how we have in finance plus the know-how we have in online teaching. And finally, as you know, we have this Saudi Spanish Center of Islamic Economics and Finance, which was pioneer in launching the first Global Master in Islamic Finance. 4 years ago, again teaching Islamic finance using this blended technology. So in general, I think it's been a pain developing the whole thing. It's very expensive, but ultimately I think it's a winning proposition and people are very happy. And as Charles Merrill, the founder of Merrill Lynch, said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Salma, I think IE Business School are doing a very good job in having these blended courses for developing entrepreneurship and leadership. But in general, what makes development of entrepreneurship and leadership very difficult in general? This is number one. Number two, do you think also communication skills are very important for this, for developing new leaders in the future?
Well, first of all, I think I congratulate you for being the first in what you're doing in Spain in IEB. I just came back from Dubai, and the American University in Dubai is setting up a war room, and it's going to allow for collaborative learning where the participants around the world are all going to see each other and the teacher in the center. So that the opportunity of blending learning is brilliant. I think I would add, what we do in our own courses is we add something called activity-based learning. So with the activities, then they actually can collaborate with each other, sitting in Jeddah or sitting in Dubai or sitting in Jordan, it doesn't matter. They are all connected. As long as they can communicate and speak in the same language, they should be okay. I think your question first was, what makes leadership skills difficult to develop? Again, it comes back to nurturing. In my mind, I think communications is the next one. In my mind, leaders, there's a great debate, and again, my two academic colleagues can help me. There's a great debate where the leaders are born in their DNA. Are they leaders, male or female, or is it something that is nurtured by the environment, by the upbringing, again, by the family? So for me, at the moment in the UK, we have a course which is called Parenting in the Digital Age, because that we need parents to understand how to teach the children to be safe online and how to balance the internet addiction that's happening to social media to our young people. The reason why I bring that up is because for leadership, I've written here some notes on the importance of nurturing. I'm arguing that it can be in your DNA, you can be a born leader, but with hard work and the right environment, leaders can be developed. Leadership skills can be developed. Again, I'm not going to read you a list of leadership training. It's all available online, I'm sure. But I will talk about the holistic senses, which I think are very difficult to develop as a leader. As a girl growing up in the 60s in the UK, very few foreigners being there, as a Muslim, it was not easy always. And you learn to get thick skin, and you learn to be confident. And that confidence and encouragement comes from your parents. That is how you, again, allowing your children to take the lead. My father used to always give us the map and ask us, okay, now which is the direction? How are we going to get from A to B? From London to Birmingham, for example. And these are very important small little activities that parents do with their children to allow them to take responsibility. These are all part of the holistic development for leadership. The continuous encouragement, confidence building, positive, constructive feedback. This is what develops a leader. For me, being a very strong woman and the chairman of my company, it is very difficult for me to hold and control my emotions and passion to allow my presidents or my managers to speak. So I'm always checking myself. I'm always reflecting. Salma, give them a chance, take a breath, and allow, engage, let them speak. So what I feel for the future, leadership skills are going to have to focus a lot on the human side of things, the sensory side of things, learning how to calculate the return of investment is not easy, but relatively easy. We can do it, numbers are clear. But when you look at developing people, developing your teams, encouraging people to work together, share information, because a lot of people don't work as a solid team, and they all look at you. And the other thing is to be able to learn leadership skills that acknowledge and recognize and reward various different performances. I also find that when I engage with other private sector organizations, we look at their human resource development plans, we look at the motivational process, and you see that they're motivating the wrong numbers. They're not looking at the loyalty, they're looking at the revenue. Then how do you get sustainability thinking? Most recently, we've been looking at creating a stakeholder strategic framework for a company, an international company. And what we've been talking about is, who are your stakeholders? So now the change in thinking for thought leadership and knowledge leaders is looking at sustainability. Sustainability doesn't just mean sustainability of a business and access to oil or whatever resources you need or electricity. It means the community where you build your port or your logistics center. There's an initiative going on in DRC. Fishermen have been displaced. So what do you do to the fishermen? How can you be wearing a civic hat on so you're socially prepared and responsible? This is the future leader. The other aspect is looking at the environment, the sustainability, the consumption, not just of one element, but holistically. And that's the future leader that with the skills we need to develop. Again, I'm not reducing the importance of making a business plan, developing a strategy, having MBOs. No, 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 no. Everything a leader needs to do is there. We need to be genuine. We need to be authentic. We need to be trustworthy. Only then will our people, our staff, look up to us and say, okay, alhamdulillah, we want to follow this person. It's got nothing to do with gender. It's got to do with you, how you perform, behave, and act. And I feel that one of the most important things that is missed, I am extremely sensitive, very strong and very quick to condemn. One of the things, because I'm only afraid of my grave and nothing else at this age in my life, alhamdulillah, what I do notice, and I'm saying this to you who are my brothers and my sons in this room, it is very important how a man looks at a woman, how a manager looks at his staff, how a CEO looks at his people. This non-verbal communication of belittling people, marginalizing people with your eyes is very important for leaders to be aware and sensitive to, because I'm not sure if young ladies over here can see that or feel it, but it's very important that everybody has something to offer. So a leader is going to be a person who has the skill to see, never mind what this person looks like, never mind if they're physically disabled in any way, they may have something fantastic to contribute. So you've got to keep your ears and eyes open and censor yourself, your body language. This non-verbal communication is a killer, because if somebody has something wonderful to say, they won't say it because you've put them off or you've scared them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Salma. Maybe before closing, we can take one or two questions from the audience, if there are some. Okay, if there is no question, let me ask, can we have the mic here, please?
While the mic is coming, just add
please.
Quick comments about what I liked about the presentation is actually the focus on, which is relates to what Dr. Salma said, the focus on behaviors and systems. So behaviors is, when we were studying, we were told that numbers and science is everything, but as we go now, we realize that, for example, behavioral economy is really working on people are irrational, and looks and the way you treat people will make a big difference on the results. So I like in your presentation that there is a focus on the behaviors to be promoted and also on the systems thinking.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Khaled. Let us take the question. Can you please introduce yourself?
Merci bien. Je voudrais partager un peu l'avis de la formation de leadership. Je suis un membre déjà de la Fédération des entrepreneurs marocains. Je pense que effectivement, le leadership, si on voudrait définir exactement le leadership, c'est une personne qui peut émerger parmi un groupe. Parmi un groupe, il doit émerger.
Can you stand up, please? Est-ce que vous pouvez vous mettre debout, s'il vous plaît?
Ouais.
Comme ça, les gens peuvent voir et vous entendez un peu la traduction. Vous parlez.
Alors, je voudrais partager avec vous cette formation de leadership en tant qu'entrepreneur marocain. Je suis un membre parmi les entrepreneurs marocains et qui ont participé, qui ont démarré pratiquement. Je connais un ensemble d'entrepreneurs qui ont finalement démarré de départ et aujourd'hui se trouvent en tant que des membres d'entreprises qui ont parfaitement bien réussi le travail et qui ont émergé à travers bien des choses. Au niveau de, si on voudrait bien définir exactement le leadership, c'est la personne qui se trouve parmi un groupe et qui a pu participer et se montrer à travers le groupe capable de pouvoir les mener. Si on voudrait voir la personne qu'on peut parler de leadership. Maintenant, en ce qui concerne ces entrepreneurs, nous trouvons de plusieurs gabarits. Il y a des personnes qui pratiquement n'ont pas eu de formation, qui ont démarré pratiquement par le fait qu'ils ont démarré dans un travail, ils ont exercé le travail, ils l'ont maîtrisé parfaitement bien et ils ont fini par se développer et venir à un certain moment pour atteindre un niveau de leadership qui mène pratiquement des entreprises de grande taille. Il existe effectivement des personnes qui ont émergé à travers leur formation et à travers les occasions qui se sont présentées. Donc, je pense que la formation de leadership nécessite dès le départ, à travers la famille, les parents qui voudraient former un leadership, il faut qu'ils lui donnent l'occasion d'émerger dans des occasions et qu'ils puissent l'encourager par une satisfaction d'un travail qui a été fait, d'un diplôme qui a pu réussir pour pouvoir arriver d'un certain niveau. Et il faut lui donner l'occasion de le faire sentir qu'il a pu faire quelque chose dès son jeune âge. Ça, au niveau de la famille. Et il faut que l'environnement, un rôle très important de la part, si vous voulez, du gouvernement, il faut qu'il donne l'occasion des gens de pouvoir se montrer et arriver à exercer et parvenir à faire un leadership. Et à partir, il doit y avoir une participation depuis leur jeune âge jusqu'à un certain niveau pour pouvoir venir à ça. Et il faut introduire ça même au niveau des écoles, des jeunes âges. Au niveau de l'école, il ne faut pas attendre qu'on soit au niveau d'une grande école pour pouvoir, par la suite, il se peut qu'il arrive à réussir déjà leurs études et parvenir à des niveaux supérieurs, mais on n'arrive pas à trouver en eux ce leadership qui peut permettre d'émerger et qui peut mener avec lui et qui réalise des choses et peut entraîner. Je pense qu'il y a un ensemble de phasages auxquels un ensemble de sensibilisation a fait apporter depuis le jeune âge, depuis les écoles, depuis la formation, à la fin jusqu'à un certain niveau, et on finit que créer l'ambiance pour lui permettre de créer et de participer et d'aller plus loin. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Une autre question? Allez-y. Brièvement, s'il vous plaît.
Mohamed Laïchouni, je suis de la délégation ivoirienne. Je voudrais d'abord remercier les intervenants pour leur intervention très riche et concise. Et je voudrais intervenir au niveau de l'adoption par les pays, disons, qu'on appelle en voie de développement, pour ne pas dire sous-développé, d'un certain nombre d'approches, comme par exemple le leadership, l'entrepreneuriat, la technologie d'information, l'inclusion économique, politique, sociale, etc. D'après ma modeste expérience de plus de 20 ans en Afrique subsaharienne, je peux constater que cette adoption n'est pas le fait d'une appropriation logique et réelle par, je dirais, le gouvernement, par les sociétés elles-mêmes, mais plutôt c'est disons, des approches qui sont imposées par les bailleurs de fonds. Et donc, ce qui fait que l'appropriation n'est pas complète, n'est pas totale, et ce qui se traduit généralement par, je dirais même, disons, des faillites, voire même des gaspillages de deniers publics qui doivent être destinés beaucoup plus, disons, aux aspects, aux secteurs les plus prioritaires, et en particulier celui de la lutte contre la pauvreté. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have another session, very interesting session, which is very much linked to the first one. It will be on smart economy, but before closing, let me thank again our speakers. Dr. Nourdin Maana, directeur de l'école Hassaniya des Travaux Publics. Merci beaucoup. Dr. Salma Abbasi will stay with us for the next session, please. Mr. Ignacio de la Torre, member of the IE Business School, Spain, and Dr. Khalid Al-Ghanim, CEO of Hawaz, Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Founder and CEO of H7 Morocco. أهلا وسهلا تشرفنا الله يحييك. Mr. Ghazi Khalil, Senior Strategy Consultant, Conquest Consulting, Tunisia. أهلا وسهلا, you are very welcome. This is the second initiative of IRTI, which is developing smart economies for member countries to support employment, to support innovation, and to support, most important, sustainable development. It fits within the overall change project, but to create whole markets and to embrace the new trends in creating the future. There is not as of yet, there is no single definition of a smart economy. Of course, every one of us would like to be smart, and no one wants to be unsmart. But so far, there are few definitions available, and there is no issue in how to define it. It all lead to the same final conclusion. One definition, blockchain technology plus Internet of Things, or digital assets plus digital identity plus smart contracts, decentralized, transparent, cooperative systems. Let me highlight how a smart economy is different from a digital economy. When we talk about digital, we are talking about basically 0-1, which is purely machine. But when we are talking about smart, we are combining the best of machine and of human and socially responsible decision-making process. And that's why we prefer the smart logo than the digital logo. So why are we embracing this smart economy initiative? This is the future. It's already here. It's changing so many or affecting so many dimensions of the economy, and we have to take advantage of it, or else we will be left out. It's an ideal opportunity for Islamic economics and finance. This is something very interesting, that the more the advanced the technology, the more that we are able to adopt the principles of Islamic economics and finance. So there is a substantial synergy and harmony between advanced technologies and between the principles of Islamic economics and finance, and obviously to support sustainable development of value chains for member countries. And why the initiative? In general, we adopt the 3 Bs: big, bold, and brave. If you want to, there is an Arabic proverb says, إذا غامرت في شرف مروم فلا تقنع بما دون النجوم. If you want to fly, never settle for less than the stars. So we are looking for an initiative that is big, bold, and brave. Big means it engulfs a wide range of activities, serves a large segment of potential clients in member countries. Bold means it stands out from the crowd. It is clear and sharp. And brave, it is creative, innovative, adding value, and solving substantial problems to our member countries. We have been working not only on the initiative in general, but also on particular projects translating the concept of blockchain and fintech into principles of Islamic economics and finance. Some of these, which we will not be able to explain here in detail: smart cash waqf, e-murabaha to finance e-commerce transactions, supply chain platforms for government and private sector. And these supply chain platforms could plug in with crypto sukuk that would help mobilize resources in a very smooth and predictable and transparent manner. Sorry. Counter-trade exchange, I'm sure you are aware of trade, but counter-trade means basically barter. So we don't need to have cash to conduct the trade. It's a multi-trillion business worldwide that people are trading commodities for commodities without intermediating cash. Cryptocurrencies, of course, and tokens could be very helpful in facilitating counter trade. Credit enhancement incentive system, how to develop takaful and cooperative insurance. And this is one of the remarkable areas of how blockchain technology could support cooperative and support incentive systems for not only Islamic banks, but all Islamic finance aspects. Our approach is to develop a diagnostic study of the economy in member countries, identify those sectors with maximum potential for intervention for the blockchain and fintech, and based on that, the feasibilities will be conducted for selected projects. Proof of concept will be also prepared, and accordingly, a gateway, a smart gateway for investors who are interested in these projects would be set up so that the process would be self-financed and funded. And this master plan, of course, will be to line up these smart projects and invite investors to invest in these projects. So it's a win-win for the member country economy and for investors and for the youngsters to develop their own startup and their own businesses. Members, of course, ISDB Group and IDB Group members, member countries, multilateral development institutions, Islamic financial institutions, blockchain and fintech companies. We are already in talks with some member countries. We are already in talks with blockchain and fintech companies, and we hope things will be, inshallah, within the coming months, something material or tangible will be realized. Of course, there are many challenges we are facing. These are new technologies yet to prove themselves, although they are promising. Economic conditions are not always conducive. And of course, there is resistance to change and bureaucracy. There are very good opportunities, of course. There is a high percentage of youth. The youth are both supply and demand. They provide a huge supply of new ideas, but also they would provide huge demand for new products and services. So this is a wealth for developing new products and services. Already, smartphones have been adopted widely in many sectors, and this, of course, would make it much easier to implement smart economies, and the potential growth in these new technologies is substantial. As already mentioned, we have the concept. Phase 1 is the concept and framework during the first quarter 2019. We are already working to sign MOUs with partners, including member countries, and with fintech and blockchain companies. We plan to have a pilot in some selected member countries for some of the smart projects, like the smart cash waqf and other smart projects. And we hope the full scale will be conducted first quarter next year, inshallah. We have already now negotiated establishing a smart economy lab in Indonesia. It's a catalyst for research leading to patents and startup and smart technologies. It serves as an incubator or a facilitator for incubators or startups in the areas that have been successful in developing proof of concept. We already have initial green light from, of course, IDB management. We have green light from, we have positive discussions with the Central Bank of Indonesia, with the University of Indonesia, and with the hub, IDB hub in Indonesia. And just to be on the record, Indonesia is, according to some statistics at least, it's #1 in Islamic fintech. Now, I'll turn to the panel and raise the following main issues. What are the real opportunities for smart technology to support development in member countries? How to overcome the challenges? How to convince partners to join the initiatives? Are there quick wins? And who are the main partners to suggest? So if you allow me, I will move to the panel as well. So let me start with Ghazi. You are first on my list. So Ghazi, can you tell us what are some of the quick wins that we can realize in the Smart Economy initiative?
First, thank you to inviting me to this panel and to give me the opportunity to speak about this smart economy. I think the quick wins, they need to be within the governments, because we have most of the North African or Sub-Saharan Africa, very traditional governments, and the quick wins, they need to be around making a full development plan for the country, where they can, for example, change the tax reductions, help with incentives, and especially change their procurement process. We know the biggest client for private sector in North Africa is the government, and he has a lot of traditional way of doing their RFPs, their traditional bidding systems, and this is with the digital system. They need to be really, really more fluid and change these rules. And that way, people that can access to this client that is today is very traditional and is not allowing any new entrepreneur or startups to do anything. That's, I think, the quick wins that we can rely on the first step.
So you are advising government to?
Basically to change their regulations and to give much more fluid process to allow these young startups and young entrepreneurship to allow them to help them create and bid on all these projects, that they are all around the digital process.
Thank you, Ghazi. Brother Amin, do you think this is a simple process to convince government to change regulations? Which comes first? It's a chicken and egg looks like a problem. Please.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's difficult to make government change very quickly, but I think, as my fellow panelists said, it's key for regulation to change in order for fintech startups and startups in general flourish. And the numbers are, I would say, stubborn. When you see globally in 2018, fintech startups received more or less $52 billion in investments. When you see Africa, it's more or less $500 million. When you see the Middle East and I would say North Africa, it's around $125 million. So clear, the governments should, I would say, loosen up the regulations, especially the ones that are, I would say, museling innovation in that space. But at the same time, those governments and institutions should invest heavily in fintech, because the risk is that we are gonna, I would say, miss another bullet train. And we can see it clearly. For example, the 7, I would say, African startups received at YC Y Combinator, which is the best accelerator in the world, are in fintech. And those fintechs, they cannot exist in, I would say, a lot of our countries because of regulation. So governments should act quickly on regulation and in investing in fintech sector.
Dr. Salma, if you are to advise a government to support fintech and innovative startups, what would be the #1 advice?
It's not my question, but it's okay. No. Actually, I think I wouldn't advise governments to just do fintech. That's the first thing. I'm not only segregating anything to fintech. I think what my colleagues have said about regulation is important. I think having more flexible policies are also very important. And if we're talking about the fintech space and blockchain, as you were talking about, for us, we're working in agriculture and trade in Africa, and we're using blockchain, cryptocurrency. And what we find is that that whole regulation is missing globally. It's so collaborative, and where you're sitting with the Islamic Development Bank and what we were hearing yesterday, there's an opportunity to actually collaborate globally and say, what is the framework we're going to work under? And how then can we bring in financial inclusion and access to finance for people in the post-conflict countries and many of the developing countries, I think one of our colleagues mentioned. I think that's the first thing. The second, I believe that partnerships are very important. For governments, policies need to be fluid. They need to be able to change the dynamic environment. I'm a great believer in 80% planning, 20% execution. However, every single thing that I do is with rev control, because everything's changing. So when you bring in the stakeholders, that is the core business stakeholders, the startups, then you bring in the enablers, and the influencers. So there's multiple levels of stakeholders that governments need to engage. One of the colleagues earlier mentioned that entrepreneurs were instigated by development agencies and not governments. I think that's maybe in some cases, but that's indicative and shows you that somebody has to take the leadership. And I believe the bureaucracy in government tenders is awful. It's very scary. And I think that if the government was committed to do things quickly, then they would take more advantage of the technology that's there and what the smart economy really is going to provide.
Where to start? You suggested that the government should change regulation. How about the corporate sector? Shouldn't they also take the lead, for example, establishing incubators, establishing labs, and so on? So there are multiple parties here. So who would move first? Or how to synchronize the actions of these different players?
I believe first the government needs to work a lot with scholars and research and development to create a full development plan. And this full development plan will touch and put a synergy between education, because I think the main capital of every country is the new people, the new educated people. That's the energy, that's the idea, that's all the wealth that we can have. And to give a better plan to those people, we need to definitely to have a full development plan. And that will touch the education, regulations, and the private sector. The private sector, his role, I think, today, to encourage financially and to basically have a lot of programs where he can give internships and give incentives to all these new entrepreneurs just before to get their diploma and to get to the market. So at least they have a little experience and maturity before to get there and to start basically their own business or whatever, working with other businesses. So this synergy, I think, is very important between, again, the government and the research and development and scholars, primarily, at least.
Okay. Brother Hassan, how to mobilize the support from different players. So there is no single player. The government, of course, is a very important player. The private sector, multilaterals. Where to start? How to coordinate the process? Where do you think you can, in Morocco, for example, where would you start? What would be the starting point?
I think Hassan is missing, but Amin is here, so no problem. Well, where would I suggest to start? I think when you analyze all the different countries who succeeded at creating, I would say, this new economy or smart economy wave, the government was really the central piece of it. Because for the first decade, you need to invest and wait for this smart economy to I would say, to appear. So governments are central. You cannot, I would say.
Which agent in Morocco would be responsible?
Well, in Morocco, I think it's the Ministry of Industry and Digital Economy, for sure. But it's way, I would say, broader than that. The Ministry of Economy and Finance is key, because that minister is the one who decides on, I would say, the big or the macro economy decisions, and who can have a huge impact on the, I would say, the creation of this smart economy sector. But also it's a leadership, I would say, decision. Because for Morocco, for example, we produce more or less 50,000 top talent per year. So there are Moroccans who study in the top Moroccan schools, French schools, American schools, Canadian schools, and so on. From those 50,000, we convert very little to very high impact entrepreneurs. And that's where lies the problem. It's, of course, the government should play its role. And that will attract that top talent to this new smart economy. Because without that talent, it's impossible to create world-class, I would say, startups. So for me, the government should have this, this new vision that Morocco have the talent, has the potential to develop a smart economy and invest accordingly. And we were very good at doing so. For example, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when we decided that we need to have an automotive and aeronautical industry in Morocco, a lot of people did not believe in the capacity of Morocco to attract this big players like Boeing or like Renault to Morocco, and that Moroccans can have this kind of, I would say, skills. And we did it. So it's the same. If we decide at a certain level that this is a priority, we can convert those 50,000 to top entrepreneurs. But not only that, Morocco is a hub for Africa. And Africa more or less creates 500,000 top talent yearly. So imagine if we convert only 0.1% of those talent. It's huge. We can have the entrepreneurs that can solve Africa's problem, but not only that, but capture the potential Africa have.
Dr. Salma, you are a supporter of entrepreneurship. And Brother Amin, he is mentioning that as an example in Morocco. 50,000 every year, very talented students are graduating, but very few of these talents are converted into entrepreneurs. How would you see, how could we encourage entrepreneurial spirit in our member countries?
Thank you. I think this is a very good question. There are two things here. One is the encouraging the spirit of entrepreneurs, and then the other is actually taking the spirit and the smart people to be able to become commercial entities. In the first place, the encouraging, again, as I mentioned earlier in the previous session, about role models. If we believe that we have a cadre of young people that are entrepreneurs, and I'm happy to see many more young people in this session, alhamdulillah, welcome, it's important that they find the holistic support that they need. One of the things that you mentioned about accelerators and the incubation centers that our companies and governments are opening, and you said private sector. I'm a believer that there needs to be a public-private partnership with industry, with academia, and with the government, and with the central banks. Now, we have an excellent program in Nigeria that the Central Bank of Nigeria is funding, or has funded, in partnership with the African Development Bank, ICT hubs. Within these ICT hubs, we not only have lectures, let's say the nurturing environment of the best world-class accelerator and incubators being established. The curriculum, again, on the internet. I'm not going to talk about that. It's the other supported services for the digital exposure, the marketing, the connectivity for the finance, which is available, but people don't know how to get it. So one of the most important things for us to take your stars, superstars, is what many companies are doing now, many private sector companies. We're working with Airbus in agriculture. Airbus has established something in Toulouse, which is a biz hub. So they're bringing smart people who are thinking about aircraft technology, satellite technology, you name it, and they're funding it. And then they're actually investing into the next level. So not only do they have a capacity building of entrepreneurship, but they have the mentoring and they have the roadmap of how to take this idea to commercialize it, not just by being dropped, because they need more than money. They need that mature leadership and management support and mentorship through the journey. So I think governments can create such collaborations that actually help, first with the enabling framework, with the policy, the regulation, the funding in place, but then also to say to private sector, have some incentives. This is in the in the 80s, these were incentives that were used in Silicon Valley to bring private sector to come in and say, you can do your business, here's a tax break. Stories are there, case studies are available from Ireland, from Malaysia in Penang. I went there in the 80s when we started manufacturing ASIC chips. Singapore. So you've got, Malaysia is just really full of examples that can be replicated, translated. And now what you mentioned about Indonesia is correct. Indonesia, out of necessity, alhamdulillah, the human brain is such that where there is a will, there is a way. If you don't have access to money, if we can't have a bank in every village, every district, you can create mobile, trusted money agents so people can have access. Trade can be promoted. Entrepreneurs, technopreneurs, trade entrepreneurs. That's why I'm afraid of fintech, because fintech sometimes has a very tight boundary, but the mobile money agents are outside of that realm. Blockchain is creating new opportunities, trusted agents within the field. So the opportunities are vast, and as my colleague said, we need to have a plan. I love that. Yes, we do. If there is no plan, we cannot review it, and we don't know where we're going. But it needs to be something that's implementable. I'm very afraid of plans. I love reading. My eyeglasses change every year, but what's important is how to implement the policy, how to implement the plan. Where are the pilots? Where are the case studies? How can we communicate across the member countries success stories from our own environment, our culture, our tradition, our ethical values, so that we don't have to bring Western models in, but how do we make it for our own context?
Brother Ghazi, can you tell us your experience with startups, innovative startups in Tunisia?
Sure. I'm a co-founder of Agora Venture. It's an accelerator and technology enabler in Tunisia after living 18 years in... accelerators in Tunisia? 7 we have. We're working on 7. 6 of them failed already. So for me, failing before is more success coming, more chances to succeed. And 70% of them are women empowerment. just to add to your comment about women empowerment. These accelerators, they all related to social impacts, creating ecosystems, and from those ecosystems are replicable through Africa. That's basically the core value that we have. And we have this passing forward culture where we have a platform of network of people, of already startups that succeeded, and they have certain knowledge and sharing solutions also. And besides that, we have a lot of training that we offer through research and development partners, as ERTI, as universities that we have around. And from that platform, we can do replicable business from, like I say, region to region, society to another society. That's basically our process, how we do that. What else? Talking about, I'm going to go back just about the plan. Monitoring and measurement and KPIs, I think they need to start from the day one of having a plan. And we have one of the startups, because it's doing that. They have a platform that do monitoring and throwing KPIs, not just in different accelerators, even within the government institutions on the regulations, process to implement these regulations. I don't know about Morocco, but in Tunisia, it's very slow. We have certain laws that they've been signed up and they've been executed like 6-9 months ago. But today, really, the process within the administration is not even there. So for me, it's no point to have regulations if they're going to take 1 year or 2 years to be implemented. So that I say those laws are window laws. They're not really true market laws. And we need to shorten that period between passing the regulation and having it executed. And that's one of the startups is doing really good. And we're using the media also to point to certain latency, to certain points where the government needs to really to be more efficient and more tactical on those. That's it.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Brother Amin, many people now are considering, rather than starting with the government level, which is probably might be very complicated, if we start at the level of the cities, wouldn't be that more efficient and quick to realize the solutions if we start from the municipality, for example, provide smart solutions to the communities, and then gradually move from there, step by step, to the rest of the country? How do you see this approach?
Well, how can I say? I think it's one way of doing things. It's possible to go through cities and municipalities. In the case of Morocco, regions. It's easier to get a hold of the president of the region and to create, for example, an acceleration program that can, I would say, accelerate startups that can have a direct impact on the lives of the citizens. And it's faster than changing regulation at the central level or change policies. But we have to work simultaneously on both levels. We have to work with the city, at the city or the municipality or the region level, because we can have amazing startup with direct impact on citizens. But at the same time, we have to work with the governor of the central bank, with the Ministry of Economy and Finance, the Ministry of Digital Economy, to create this massive change. Because our talent, we're competing with Paris for our talent, we're competing with Dubai for our talent, we're competing with Montreal, we're competing with London. So the best, I would say, African or Arab or Muslim talent, we're competing with incubators and accelerators in all worldwide capitals. And not only they have amazing programs, but also they have access to serious investment. So if we don't adjust our policies at all the levels quickly, we were experiencing a brain drain. We're going to experience entrepreneurs drain, which is not dangerous, but it's sad, because those individuals are able to create technologies, but not only that, create thousands of jobs, but not only that, but impact 100 million citizens. So we should put this subject on the top of the agenda, on the top of the priorities. And as you said, it's great to have a plan, but execution is more important. And I was a special advisor of a minister. For me, a plan should be, very short and very precise, like 4 or 5 key actions that we can implement in the next 6 to 12 months, so we can see the impact. When it's a 200-page deck, and it will never be implemented. Just to stay on the library and to say, we did a study, we did a strategy, and so on. But the best strategies and best plans are 5 points, but clear and actionable.
I'm totally with him. I think academically, if you want to do research, you can have your 200-page plan. But if you really want to have something implementable, it needs to be not more than 15. I'll go a little bit more than 5, but maybe 15 pages. Because one of the things that, as you were speaking, I was just making some notes. I think, again, when we talk about the smart economy, we have to understand that the smart economy doesn't mean just technology. Smart economy means smart use of power, smart use of water, smart use of data, smart use of transportation systems, smart use of security informations. So when you start talking about smart economy, it's all about sustainability, the holistic cycle, which you're talking about within the SDGs for the Islamic Bank's vision. I think when we develop plans and the strategies, it needs to be interministerial. It has to go horizontal, cut across all the ministry. The Ministry of Youth and Women Affairs needs to be on that table. The Ministry of ICT and Ministry of Education and Science and Technology. I often find strategies that are created in silos, and they're 200 pages for each one, and you think they don't talk to each other. You have limited money. If you're able to put this together and align them, the chances of your success are much higher. The chances of engaging the young people, their interests, whether they care about waste management or the environment. I'm a great believer in recycling. I use every corner of my paper and even the back. So one of the things that I feel that with the smart economy, if we move our thinking and say all of the different elements that will take place in the smart economy, or that are engaging and can leverage from the smart economy, governments can quickly say, this is the right thing for me to do. It's not just technology. Because a lot of people in government say to me, Salma, what are you talking about? We don't have electricity. Why do you want me to have a computer? This is in a ministry. It's always covered with cloth. So I look at it and I say, oh gosh, forget that computer, now start using your smartphone. Do you have a mobile? Oh yes, I have 3. So let's just take it down to the next level of simplification. But the other thing you mentioned is the implementation. I think you're right that programs should be implemented at the state level and maybe within 1 or 2 clusters. I like clusters of 5. It's manageable. When we do our projects, we do them in clusters of 5 with a state governor as the champion who takes care of all the, let me say, bullshit, whatever the bureaucracy's difficult stuff that we, private sector, don't want to deal with. We want to keep it simple. That is how private sector will come and play with you, because the results, as my brother here said, want to see the results quickly. These young people are impatient. Inshallah, they have a long life in front, but they want to be engaged now. They want to be heard now. So the idea for us to do the pilots with the member countries on something that is needs-based. It's the colleague from Spain, he was talking about the push and the pull. we are doing a pilot on agriculture, which I am so proud of. I want to share on Friday. It is all about poverty alleviation, food security, prevention of malnutrition, and creating jobs, creating SMEs, getting the right information. Now we have this huge cyclone satellite imagery. Where are the flood zones? We're dealing with water, drought issues in many member countries, and yet we can do farming. As I was landing into Morocco, I didn't realize how much dry, and then I saw these green patches from the window, and I was thinking, okay, subhanallah, we can find a way. So there's lots of ways to bring in water agents, logistic agents, clusters of expertise. Some of the young people may want to be in leasing of equipment, tractors, farming equipment. How do they find each other? Through a smart grid. How do they find power? Through a smart grid. So it's connecting all of the pieces of the ecosystem to create a pilot or a model that will be sustainable, will deliver the results, and the government can say, right now, I can move forward and see how can I scale this and localize this to other regions of my country. Thanks.
I think we have some room for comments or questions from the audience.
This one over there.
Please. Over there. Your name, please.
I am Khalid Al-Uthman from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I'm glad to comment just after Dr. Salma made her recent statement, which I think is smart by itself. She actually took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that smart doesn't mean technology, it doesn't mean ICT in general. And this is a common stereotype, misunderstanding, I think, to the notion of smart economy. But again, as ISDB is now embracing the smart economy, how much can ISDB now actually encourage, support, cross countries, alliance, exchange of expertise? I think that is one way of achieving smart economies. Me coming from Saudi Arabia was actually interested to listen to my colleague and brother, Dr. Khalid Al-Ghanaim, in the previous showing a success story with regard to developing solutions, smart solutions in Saudi Arabia. I would like to see that actually being exchanged and transferred. Knowledge transfer between the Islamic countries is something that can be embraced, encouraged by ISDB, I think, through its financing solutions, rather than, again, knowledge transfer from the West or from the East. That is something that I think is missing, and I think that is something that would add also to the smart economy concept. Thank you very much.
If I may comment on this, IDB, or Islamic Development Bank, it has a program called reverse linkages, which is to transfer knowledge and experience and success models from one member country to the other member country. It's a unique program for the Islamic Development Bank. It has been in place for years and it is working. It is bringing in tangible results. But of course, there are no limits. There will be always room for improvement. And that's what we, inshallah, plan to take into account for the Smart Economy Initiative, how to transfer these success experiments and success stories and share it across the member countries. Anyone would like to comment on this, please?
Actually, I don't think we can achieve any smart economy if we don't have the support, the support and the push of the international institutions, such as ISDB, and really to push the governments to work on their regulations. I keep insisting on the government. I think the biggest obstacle that I found in Tunisia or in several countries in Africa was the government. Coming from the US, I didn't find any issue. It looks the government doesn't exist in the sense of stopping entrepreneur startups to do any thing or helping them or giving them incentives. So coming to Tunisia and asking a little bit, going to different administrations, it's easy. I don't know if it's heritated from the French mentality, but the no, it's very easy. The first phrase, you're going to say no. And then you have to work months to get the yes. And this is something that we really need these international institutions, such as ISDB and IRTI, to push really the government, the central banks especially too, because they have this very, very traditional banking system, and all those unbanked people, they're not going to be able to come in and to be empowered if they don't loose up a little bit of those regulations and let all the mobile payments, all the process of having this blockchains, smart contracts, all these processes working for them. So basically, that's what I want to add.
Can I add to that? Please. I'll add one more thing. I appreciate the idea of knowledge sharing and having case studies. I think one of the things practically, again, following my colleague, I think one of the possibilities, you may already be doing this, I don't know, but it would be an interesting idea to have a sensitization for the presidents of countries, member countries' presidents. So a small group of people, well maybe not small, but a group of people to be sensitized on what is the smart economy. So they can actually see holistically many of their challenges, their national priorities, will be addressed if they embrace the smart economy based on their own priorities. The second thing is that with them should be the central bank governors, because money is always there for critical infrastructure development. The future of the knowledge economy, and to make this work, this is a critical infrastructure. Knowledge is a critical, for the future, this is key. So I think about that could be an interesting thing to do. Thanks.
Yes. I think knowledge sharing between our different countries are key, because we are in the same environment. Sometimes it's very funny because we try to replicate what we see in Silicon Valley. But Silicon Valley is a very specific environment. Even when you go out of Silicon Valley, in the US, it's different. So, and we try to apply the same principles and same concepts in Morocco, in Africa, in the Middle East, and it's wrong. We should create our own development model for technologies or for startups that can have a societal impact. What I can suggest for the Islamic Development Bank is to create a program where in less than a year we can show concrete results. Because it takes an organization this large in terms of size, but also in terms of reach. You are present in I would say 20, 30, 40, how many countries? So you can have an acceleration program in one specific sector or agnostic. And in less than a year, we will see a lot of startups emerge from all across the country members with a huge potential and concrete impact. So I think this is something concrete you can achieve fairly quickly.
Point out that in several member countries, there is something called sandbox regulations. Sandbox regulations are special treatment for startups, new companies, that will be exempted from the bulk of the regulations that govern standard companies. This exists in Malaysia, as far as I know. In Saudi Arabia, they also started sandbox regulations. They called it FinTech Labs. And in Bahrain, they are in the process of providing a similar exemption for these new startups. So that would be probably another way to share a smooth and flexible environment for new startups to share across member countries. Okay, we have one more question, please.
عبد العزيز سلاوي Islamic microfinance or participatory microfinance specialist, ex-Islamic microfinance or participatory microfinance in the Islamic Development Bank. Let me tell you one thing which is very important for us in our experience in IDB, in implementing on the field during the last 5 years, almost $500 million investment promoted with low-income people, disadvantaged people, poor people, and we get more profit than with rich people. Why this happened? This is because our project was a smart project. Because our program, when we tried to sell it to governments, to banks, to everybody in our 57 countries, this man, 50 kilogram weight, and only with traditional way of convincing those people to use the Islamic tools to promote partnership and business with poor people, it's not convincing. When we developed our economic empowerment program with the best tools, with the management information systems that we put inside our new Islamic banks called economic empowerment banks, which are not financing by debt investment, the other party. We are financing by partnership with them, and then we are, in our program, having a management information system that can implement 100,000 feasibility studies a day to convince the other party to go with us or not. That's when the other parties are convinced to really do business with us and told us to start our program. When our program have been implemented by those parties, now in the last 6 months, we have convinced 6 partners to mobilize with us at least $6 billion in partnership with the poor people, in poor people, just because we can show them, to them how it is going to work. And then when we start our project inside the projects, inside programs, inside these countries, the first month we put in our system our business management information business, and then we bring the staff of this program, of these banks, without knowing anything about Islamic finance. We show them how it is work, and we tell them this is the information you should put in the system, and this is the output, which is Islamic contrast ready to be used. You will understand it when you are implemented. This is the role of smart projects in really promoting even Islamic microfinance and Islamic finance in our countries.
Thank you very much. Let me take a couple of questions before we finally come back to our panelists. Any other question from or comment or suggestions from the audience? Please.
Bonjour, je vais m'exprimer en français, s'il vous plaît. Je posais la question, il y a 62% de la population du Maroc utilise l'Internet, tandis qu'en Afrique, 3/4 de la population ne l'utilise pas. Alors, quelles sont les campagnes que utilise la Banque islamique pour faciliter le développement du e-commerce pour nous les jeunes? Merci.
Bonjour, je vais m'exprimer en français. Je suis Alvarez Moko, étudiant en 3e année du cursus ingénierie. Tout à l'heure, Monsieur Sami a fait une suggestion très importante que j'ai pris temps de noter. en disant que l'Afrique, par an, donne naissance à 50 000 talents par an. Et donc, parmi ces 50 000 talents, ce ne sont pas tous les 50 000 talents qui sont embauchés. Ce que j'aimerais savoir, moi, c'est que la banque centrale en particulier, que fait-elle en ce qui concerne la société civile afin qu'on puisse imprégner l'esprit d'entrepreneuriat dans chaque individu ou encore dans les jeunes? Parce qu'il faut savoir qu'avant qu'on puisse obtenir ces 500 000 talents, ce sont d'abord les membres de la société civile qui sont nous les jeunes. Et donc, étant donné que les smart economies passent par l'entrepreneuriat et que dans les jeunes, la génération actuelle a du mal à entreprendre, alors ne serait-il pas mieux de penser à la société civile africaine avant de pouvoir parler de smart economy et d'esprit d'entrepreneuriat chez les jeunes? Merci.
A few comments and then open the floor to our distinguished panelists. For trade, the Islamic Development Bank Group has a dedicated member, which is Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, ITFC, which is dedicated to financing and supporting trade among member countries. For the smart economy, however, we are exploring the potential for barter or counter trade, where commodities are exchanged for commodities without the need for cash. So cash is king, but there are not so many kings, by the way, so you need to economize on cash. So one way to economize on cash, but at the same time promote trade, is to have direct or barter transactions. Money is basically a medium of exchange. So if we can develop or we can capitalize on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technology, we can facilitate direct trade among producers within a region or across member countries to help boost trade with minimum capital requirement. So this is one way to support particularly small enterprises where cash is very hard to get by, but they do have the talent, they do have output or product to sell, but there is no cash that they can actually complete the cycle of trade. That's one of the areas that we are exploring, and it's, as I mentioned earlier, counter trade is multi-trillion worldwide. Many countries, they are exchanging commodities for commodities without intermediating cash. For the second question on the entrepreneurs and how to invest or how to convert the talent or the human capital into startups and successful businesses, this is the subject matter that we have been debating since this morning. And I hope we are able to come up with a few concrete recommendations for our member countries and to develop this 5-page plan or maybe 10-page plan that we take out to our member countries. So with this, let me turn to our panelists. I'll start with Dr. Salma and give us, if you don't mind, 3 concrete recommendations that you would like to conclude this session with.
Thank you very much. I think the first recommendation is going to be on what I said earlier about sensitizing member countries on what does it mean, smart economy, in their context, based on their priorities and their challenges, number one. And number two, as the young man was saying, regarding the central banks, I would create a program which has embedded into the different various ministries, a funding scheme to promote entrepreneurs with stakeholders so that there is not just the startup, as my colleague from Morocco was saying, but taking it to the next level where it can actually be a commercially viable, sound, sustainable business. And the third thing is creating case studies. I think case studies, even though you mentioned there's a sandbox and other knowledge activities available, I think that if we can success stories which are very clear and pragmatic with transformational indicators. So when a fellow colleague from another country, let's say Saudi Arabia, wants to see what's happened in Morocco, they can actually understand all of the elements of that case and what were the indicators and what was the long-term effect. Thank you.
Well, we have a very young population, huge geographical area to I would say to cover. So I believe the Islamic Development Bank can have a huge impact by doing 2-3 major projects. The first one is to have a fund of fund that invests in venture capital funds all across the member countries, because we are on a world, on a global, I would say, hunt for talent. So, and we see a lot of sovereign funds from Europe, from North America, and elsewhere investing heavily as a fund of funds in technological-oriented VC funds. The second one is to finance a network of world-class accelerator all across the country members.
Well, they mentioned 2 of my points, so I'm going to talk about just one. I think the focus is going to be in the women empowerment. I'm going to focus on women empowerment because I think education starts at home. And culturally in North Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa, it's very, very important to build that character that I think is very important to build on it, all the education. And when I'm saying education, it's the personal education. The self-esteem is very, very important. The point of failing, and the society sees someone who fails in business as something very negative. Like I said, in the US, it's very, very positive to fail in a business because at least you know where you failed and you have more chances to succeed. This sentence that I said is something that we don't use. It's not culturally are all within our system.
Do women tolerate failure more than men? Are men more rigid?
I think
that's why women are more creative?
I think women are more pushy. They need to prove themselves in Africa because it's a men world in Africa, unfortunately. And they have that energy, the extra effort they're putting there, besides the educating the future human capital, which is the most important wealth we have. So I think the combination of these two makes the women more interesting, I should say. Right. At least within our accelerators, it's a choice for us to do and go for the empowerment of women businesses, but also for me, it's much easier to work with them because they're much more motivated and they want to get there somehow faster and in a stronger way. Second recommendation, it's women empowerment. No, I'm joking. Actually, I think within the institution, the financial institution, ISDB, definitely supporting accelerators and especially putting some measurements because there is tremendous accelerators. I see them in Tunisia or North Africa, but they're using these budgets, they're using these programs without really following the KPIs and the measurements. And your KPIs are very, very important to adjust that path to success. It's not giving money, it's not putting a plan on a paper. It's at the end of the day to have an independent business, to have a return on investment, to make money, and to grow that money to other businesses. And I think that measurement is very, very important to put somehow a process to do that micro measurement of success. That's it.
Thank you very much, Brother Ghazi. We appreciate the active involvement of the audience. We thank our panelists Dr. Salma Abbasi, Brother Amin Al-Hazzaz, and Brother Ghazi Khalil. We appreciate the interaction from the audience. Thank you very much. And with this, we conclude our sessions.